Hi, welcome to Ghost Prime Reviews. Take a look at Legacy Skids. I've always had sort of affinity for Skids. He's kind of a quirky figure, even character. He looked really weird actually in the cartoon. But even just as a toy, he was a little different than the rest of the Autobot cars. And I don't think he sold well, and he wasn't very easy to find a Generation 1. I didn't have a Generation 1, but my friends did. And man, I just fell in love with it. I loved that Generation 1 figure. And when they came out with that Generations years later, Generation Skid based off the comic, I wasn't super fond of it. I think he was the wrong color. He was cool, but didn't really work for me. So I'm really happy that we finally got a Generation 1 styled Skids in a mainline toy, as a mainline toy. Now, we did get a Masterpiece recently, and I have that. I love it. I could probably guarantee we're getting repaints of this as Diaclone colors because, well, we have with almost everything else. But anyway, please hit that thumbs up button. Subscribe if you haven't. And without any further ado, let's get to the review. And here he is in the packaging. And you can see he has robot mode and vehicle mode here with the weapons attached. Close up of his face. And here he is in robot mode. On the back, both modes, 14 steps. Energon sort of style weaponry. Meh. And here is the QR code to show his stats, which I'll show right here. On the side, we have the Autobots in Wave 1 plus an Optimus Prime. Now, I thought this was G2, but see, the shoulders just isn't there. It looks like that's Siege Prime, probably Earthrise Prime. So let's get him opened up. All right, all opened up and out of the package. This is what we get. Of course, we get a set of instructions and 3 blasters, one of which is a clear Energon weapon, which, again, I'm just not super fond of. Now, this one's kind of weird because it doesn't show in the directions that it's an axe, but it's very obviously an axe. You get a blaster and a dual blaster, and these are blast effect compatible. These actually can go together like so. You take this peg, put it in the bottom here, and you have this, which is cool, very, very Skids-like. There's also a peg hole in the top. And there's a peg there, and that goes like so, and becomes sort of a weapon. And you get the figure. And taking a look at the figure, I think, honestly, he looks really good. I was really excited about this guy when he was first announced. I'm a big fan of Skids. Take a look at that head sculpt. I think he's got a fantastic head sculpt. You got silver showing up on the face and light blue eyes. Head sculpt is really, really nice. Just a very beautiful looking head sculpt. All the features are very prominent. Nothing's faded out. Everything is nice. It's clear and you can see it. I think he's got a really good head sculpt. Now, the one thing I don't like is this back piece here. It cannot come off. It is part of the head and it's for transformation. It's a little bit of a shame because it makes him look kind of squared off from the front, but it's not too terrible. Moving down to the chest, you see an Autobot logo here. He does have 2 smaller peg holes there, which don't serve any purpose seemingly yet. And he has red lights on the front and yellow headlights with a silver grille. He's got red on his crotch there. His legs are painted silver. He's got a ton of detail molded into the shins, which are black, which are definitely more in line with the toy than the cartoon. On the side, you can see some of the paint from the car. Shoulders, good, very good sculpt work there. He does have 5mm ports on his forearms. And on the back, he's got a bunch of molded detail for the doors. Moving down, there's the back of the car. And red feet. So overall, I think he looks pretty good as the character. So you can have him either put his weapon there on his arm, or he could hold it as well. Same with this one. I actually like it on the arm. Sort of gives me a Generation 1 feel to it. Now, he does have black hands where the Generation 1 had red. I'm not sure why they did that. Red hands would have been cool, but not a nitpick. Just something, just an observation. Now this is actually supposed to go something like this in his hand. That's what the directions show. But it is obviously an axe, so you could have it as an axe if you want. Sure, why not? One thing that I do want to point out just about this version is that this piece right here does not go up. And, I mean, you can have it up if you want to be more toy or masterpiece accurate, I guess, more toy accurate. But it goes down and kind of cleans up nicely with the head. Before transformation and articulation is I do want to get into some comparisons. So let's go ahead and do that. Here he is with Earthrise Prowl, so you can kind of get an idea of the size. I think they scale very well with each other. And here he is with the previous version of Skids from the Generations line. I was never a real big fan of this one. I don't think it really invoked the character. Interestingly enough, I asked my 3-year-old daughter if they were the same person. And she said, well, the heads are the same, but all the rest is different. And she's right. She's not wrong. The head sculpt on this one, he has a good head sculpt that definitely looks, oh, let's get focused, looks like Skid. So there's the head sculpt and how they compare together. Of course, this one is a very cartoon design, is armed to the teeth, which Skid should be. And, you know, it is pretty cool. I think it was cool for its time, and that's why I have it in my collection, but it just never invoked the character as much as this one does for me. So as you can see, kind of stuff sticking off it. Big old feet on this one. Never was a huge fan, but that's how those look together. Let's take in the Generation 1 right there, and you can see how they look together. The Legacy is much, much more reminiscent of that Generation 1 look than it is this look, which is from the comics. This is very much more stylized. So I dig that. I think that's very cool. So we see the black shins, as I was mentioning here. They show up there. And overall, the red and the grill is very much evocative of this guy, as opposed to the masterpiece. You can see the shins, as I was mentioning, are black, are colored here, but they're black and they're here. The silver legs, very much like the Generation 1. So this is more like the Generation 1 than it is even the cartoon, this was more based off of. Now, overall, I think they look really fantastic together. The colors on this are very much Generation 1, interestingly enough. Okay, now moving into articulation. So for articulation, his arms are on a peg here. You can go all the way around. They could also go out all the way up. Here, hang on. All the way up like this. And this joint here can make it go all the way up. So you can get a massive range of motion on his shoulder there. You kind of have a cartoon look like that. So really massive range of motion. He does have bicep swivel. He has 90 degrees at the elbow. He has wrist rotation. His head is on a ball joint. Just kind of a tight ball joint, but you get 360, not too much side to side or up and down, I guess a little bit up and down. His waist is on a waist swivel, which goes 360 around. Pegged joints on his legs, just give him the splits about like that. Forward, that much. Backward, you get him a little further back, moving that. You get him 90 at the knee. Oops, it came unpegged. And he has ankle tilt. So overall, you get some pretty good expressive poses out of him. So one thing I do want to mention is the hollowness on the legs here is egregious, but you don't really notice it in person. I think the only time you'd really notice it is if you have them sort of like this. And even then, it honestly, in person, it's not too bad. The plastic is dark enough as to where it doesn't actually make it stand out. So it's not the end of the world on that. I was really hating this when I saw the promotional shots. I did not like that at all. But actually, it's not terrible. It's still not favorable, but it's not as bad as it first appeared. So let's take off the weapons here and get into transformation. These are tight. One thing I do want to mention is the joints on this are really nice and tight, at least on my copy. That is something I appreciate. So transformation on this guy is simple and again effective, a lot like a lot of the legacies that we've been seeing lately. So what you want to do first is we're just going to unpeg the whole front of the car. Here it comes up and unpegs like that. Kind of simple. You want to take the arms, leave them like it is for now, and we're going to want to turn them like that, put them out and turn them like this, because they're going to flatten and come in. And then these kind of arms, you got to take his arms like that, right there. So what it is they're kind of hollow there, but there's a kind of peg right there, and it's going to peg in. So there's a peg and peg into the arms. We're not going to worry about that now. So right now we're going to make sure to have this all the way up, kind of like that. And then there is, you can see like the pin right there. And then you can just take his legs, kind of give him kind of a downward motion like this. Take the pelvis, put it up. So you have the hips like that. Then we're going to go ahead and move these down for later. Pretty simple so far. Take the legs. We could actually do that now and just peg them together like that. And honestly, we're almost there. So now take the arms that we just did and go ahead and put those in like so. So you have the tires here in the front of the car. And then you want to move them down. And then so that aforementioned peg, right, see if we get the light in there, right there is going to peg into the underside, get out of there, the underside of his arm. So just want to peg that in. There we go. Peg it on that side and peg it in that side. Now it pegs in really tightly, so I wouldn't worry about it coming apart. And so far, let's actually take this, put that up. So we have something like this. Then you want to take his legs, rotate them in. So that sits like that. And make sure it's nice and tight in there. You go ahead and take the top part of the car, and now this is kind of a scary part because this is translucent plastic. So there's peg holes on the underneath. If you could get in there, I can't get the light in there, but there's two peg holes right there. And there's pegs right there. So you're gonna wanna take them and peg that in like that. And it doesn't stay particularly well. Some of the tolerances here with the arms hitting the doors, they need to be a little thinner. It doesn't really work. But then go ahead and take the doors and peg those in. And then make sure that the front window, see, that scares me. Just push on this, make sure the front window is actually where it should be here. And then take the back wheels, move them out like that. See, this piece just comes on pegs so easily. You can get it kind of pegged in there, but the slightest breeze would make this come unpegged. So you're gonna always have it kind of not flush. That is just something that happens. It happens because of the way it all fits together. And I find that if I don't have the arms there, it fits together much better. So the tolerance happens with those arms and the doors pushing everything and pushing that up. That's a shame. But here he is in vehicle mode. Now, in vehicle mode, I think he looks pretty decent. He has nice paintwork on the side there. He, of course, all the same paintwork for the chest shows up. This shows up here. It looks brighter in my lights here than it does in person. But still, this could have been maybe a blue color or black. Would have kind of hit it a bit more. And you can also see here, you can see his thighs kind of sitting right there. But on the back, there's no paint. And I really wish they painted the taillights, because there's molding detail for all of this. Like, I mean, it's got a ton of detail, like the license plate, everything here could have been painted and it would have looked really nice. But as you see, we've got a gas can that shows up, 5mm port. On top is another 5mm port there. No paint on the wheels, which roll fairly well. These kind of wheels kind of turn in a little bit, but it doesn't stop it from rolling nicely. But overall, I mean, he compacts pretty nicely. Again, I wish that wasn't there. He does compact pretty well, though. So these weapons, you can hold them in car mode by these 5mm ports. And you could put that on the side, which looks okay. This could go on the other side, which honestly, I guess it's all right. This could go on the top. See if it'll fit like that. There we go, like that. And so it could be, battle vehicle. Or you could stick them all together, have a giant turret on top of the car. Which I guess looks all right. I mean, you can do whatever you want with it. First up, let's compare him to something modern. There he is next to one of the Datsuns. That is Silver Streak. So he does have, again, the front window sort of thing that goes on there. Very reminiscent of that. And he's pretty big, I think, for this car. This is supposed to be a Honda City. It's a Honda City Turbo. And this is, you know, it's a Nissan. So I'm not really sure how the actual cars compare because I've never seen one of these in person. But it seems kind of big to me. Here he is with the Generations version. So, of course, he doesn't transform into a City Turbo. It's more like a little Honda. I think they're both kind of Hondas. So, kind of an upgraded version. So, as you can see, kind of how these look together. Here he is next to the Generation 1 version. Look, they're very similar, even at that top. So you can see how they kind of match up there. Mine doesn't actually stay together super well, but they do share some transformation designs, like the back wheel here, because you see it. These back wheels fold out and under. The arms are hidden straight down like this. So they do share some designs. If I can get that back wheel to ever stay. There we go. That's how they look together. And I'll be right back with my final thoughts. So in conclusion, he's got a great transformation. He's not without his faults, one of those being the clear plastic that kind of holds stuff together. That's not a good thing. Over time, it probably break. I don't like his front wheels being bowed in a little bit. Some of the challenges could have been a little better, but I do actually really like this figure and I could recommend him. Is he a replacement for that Generations one? Now that is up to you. It depends on what you like. Do you like the IDW comic version or do you like the Generation 1 version? And whichever one of those you like in the collection. However, I think he's a fun figure. He's definitely does something a little different as far as transformation. Still has the door wings. I love those. And overall, pretty damn cool. Good articulation and just fun. So if you happen to see him in stores, you get a recommend from me. So anyway, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And I'll see you guys in the next review.